The Watergate scandal began early in the morning on June 17, 1972, when 5 men were arrested trying to break into Democratic National Committee headquarters in the Watergate complex in Washington, D.C. This was no ordinary robbery. The men were connected to President Richard Nixon's re-election campaign, and they had been caught wiretapping phones and stealing documents. The president took aggressive steps to cover up the crimes, but multiple investigations revealed his role in the conspiracy. The events of Watergate read like a political thriller: dirty tricks, government surveillance, and sabotage. And much of it was secretly caught on tape. In this episode, calls between President Nixon and Assistant Attorney General Henry Peterson, White House counsel John Dean, and National Security Advisor Henry Kissinger. We begin on April 16, 1973. The scope of the Watergate conspiracy was widening, and along with it, 2 investigations, one by a federal grand jury, the other by the U.S. Senate. That day, the President and Assistant Attorney General Henry Peterson talked about the grand jury investigation.
Yes, Mr. President. Did you get out with your kids? Oh, sure. They're here, and we got together with them. Oh, that's good. They all just hollered, "The President's calling," right on the nose at 9 o'clock. Well, I wanted to get you in bed earlier tonight than last night. Right. And I want to get to bed, too. Yeah. Let me say first that I just want to know if there are any developments I should know about it. And second, that of course, if you know anything you tell me, I think I told you earlier, will not be passed on. I understand, Mr. President. Because I know the rules of the grand jury. Now, LaRue was in, and LaRue was rather pitiful. He came down with O'Brien and said he didn't want private counsel, and all he was going to do what he did. What? He told John Mitchell that it was all over. And he said he had told John Mitchell that? Yes. He, LaRue, admits to participating in the subordination and obstruction of justice. He admits being present, as Dean says he was, at the third budget meeting. But who was present at that meeting, Henry? I don't know. He and Mitchell. He and Mitchell alone? And he says LaRue and Mitchell. I didn't. Meeting I seem to have missed. Dean was not there at that meeting. Dean tells us about it. Now, I'm not quite certain whether Dean was present or not. The meeting was down in Florida. Oh, some meeting. Oh, yeah, I heard about that meeting, but I think you told me about that. Yeah. He's reluctant to say at this point. Mitchell specifically authorized the budget for the electronic eavesdropping at that point, but I think he's going to come around. He's just on to John Mitchell. He admits that it could not have been activated without Mitchell's approval, however. O'Brien they didn't get to. Called back around 5 o'clock and said he was having difficulty in getting a lawyer. He finally got a lawyer in Colson's law partner. And Colson's law partner. Yeah, the United States Attorney's Office took issue with it and threatened to go to the judge on a conflict. Then he got another one. He got another lawyer. He'll be back tomorrow. Now, all you got to do today was LaRue. Right. Now, some additional information from LaRue said that he had told Mitchell that it was all over. Yes. When did he do that? Just recently. Yesterday. I see. It's thrown in the sponge. I get it. We talked earlier today about Ehrlichman. Now, a little additional detail on that. Lee confessed to Dean on June 19th. Dean then told Ehrlichman. Did he confess that the deal or what? That he was present in the Watergate. Then you also asked about Coulson. Coulson and Dean were together with Ehrlichman when Ehrlichman advised about the hunt to get out of town, and thereafter Coulson was there, so he's going to be in the grand jury. like he didn't have that authority, and he went to Haldeman. Haldeman gave him the authority. He then got in touch with Kalmbach to arrange for money, the details of which we really don't know as yet.
Right.
So Kalmbach is also a grand jury witness to be called. And I think those are the only additional developments.
What is your situation with regard to the negotiation with Dean and your negotiation with regard to the plea by Magruder? Trying to get the timing, you see, with regard to whatever I say.
Magruder's lawyers are still waiting to get back to us. They're very much concerned about Judge Sirica, and they're not so much concerned about Irwin. Their immediate concern is Sirica, and they want that ironed out first.
What do they want ironed out? That
he won't go to jail before the rest of them.
Oh, I see. If he confesses.
That's right. That's, pending with Judge Sirica.
Which you've got to have, I suppose.
Probably Titus knows him better than any of us.
Sure.
Probably Titus will handle that aspect of it.
Mm-hmm.
But that's got to be very simply done. He's got to blast us all publicly.
Oh, it's Sirica, right?
And then, we'll see. Then we'll pick up the Irwin issue.
Doesn't seem to be the major issue, though. Probably I can see that the main thing is Sirica he's concerned about.
That's right.
Sure, because Urban thing will become moot, in my opinion.
The principal thing that I wanted to point out to you on Haldeman is that Dean went to Haldeman to get authority to go to Kalmbach.
Oh, yes, that was it. After when Mitchell told him to go to Haldeman.
Mitchell told Dean simply to activate Kalmbach to handle the money.
I see.
Dean then went to Haldeman to get authority to contact Kalmbach. Thereafter, Kalmbach took care of the money. Now, details on the $350,000, which you knew about.
I knew about the front. I don't know.
Yes,
I don't know how it all went.
Developed.
See, you haven't got that one.
That is related to us as money over which Haldeman exercised control. And that money was delivered to LaRue to be used for payments. The portion of it.
Some of it, right. I think Haldeman would say that's true. I think he would. I mean, I don't know, but we'll see. You should ask, I guess, Kalmbach.
Well, the point of it is it went to LaRue instead of going to the committee directly. And Haldeman and LaRue apparently did not give a receipt. Haldeman had requested it.
I think that the was a member of, was at least the member of the finance committee. I think that was the point that called him about. I said, "Where does money go to?" And he said, "I went to LaRue." LaRue was a member of the committee or something like that, of Stanza's committee. I don't know what that is. Is that correct, or do you know that?
I don't know that. All I know is it works for John Mitchell. I'll check on that, though.
Went to Mitchell.
All I know is that LaRue worked for Mitchell.
I think he was worked for the finance committee, but I don't know. You ought to check that out.
I will.
Okay, then the main thing I need, of course, is thing on the. Well, before you wait, you're not going to have anything tomorrow and put them in court, so I don't
think so.
Have to tomorrow just continue to develop the evidence.
Yes, sir.
I think, therefore, no statement would be in order at the present time. We against one today. It just didn't seem to be. I thought it would. It might. I just had to make my own determination. I thought it would jeopardize possibly the prosecution. Who knows?
Well, there are more questions in advance.
That's right. I mean, we don't want to say anything until there's been a big break in the case and everybody starts.
One thing, Mr. President, that you ought to know.
Yeah.
I had a call from Ron Ostro, the L.A. Times. Who's a decent man and a reasonably good acquaintance. I think a reporter of character, if there are any. And he said that they had reports out of the White House that use his words, that 2 confirm it. I don't want to deny it.
So they'll probably write a story on that.
I don't know. But I mention it only because it's
It's beginning to come out, yeah.
beginning to percolate.
Must have come from where the U.S. Attorney's Office, you think?
I doubt it because I had not told them. So unless they drew their own conjecture, made their own conjecture.
U.S. Attorney? Well, but they were thinking in terms of the Haldeman Ergman thing and Dean, I suppose.
Well, you know, I know what he was thinking about, and
Where does the Colson thing come in again? I got to get that one down.
where does what thing come in?
Colson.
Coulson was present when Ehrlichman issued the order for Hunt to get out of the country.
I get it, fine. Okay. So you call him too?
Yes, sir.
Right. Okay, well, if anything comes up, call me even if it's the middle of the night, okay?
I will indeed.
Thank you.
All right, Mr. President. Thank you.
President Nixon and Assistant Attorney General Henry Peterson on April 16, 1973.
Wyndham Hotels and Resorts makes travel possible for all. Whether it's the long haulers looking for a great cup of coffee, a roomier rest for the on-a-whim road trippers, or a place to make summer memories with the whole family. No matter who you are, where you're going, or why, with 24 trusted brands to choose from like La Quinta, Days Inn, and Super 8, your Wyndham is waiting. Get the lowest price at WyndhamHotels.com. Restrictions apply. Visit website for more details.
The next day, the president called White House counsel John Dean to talk about the Senate's investigation.
Hi, John. You got your piece of paper yet? Which one is that now? Oh, yes. I work with Len Garment. And Len, I think, has a product that he and I concur in. Oh, I see. Yeah. I got Len got something to me last night. Yeah. He and I... But that's what you would... That's the one you would approve. His approach, or do you have any variations? I would. Well, let me suggest. As you can hear, I got these Italians down today. That's what you hear in the background. Maybe about we get through with the Prime Minister. Maybe about 3 o'clock we could get together and no. Let's see. Wait a minute. Let me see. 12:30, Mr. Betsky. Let's go on us. 1 o'clock. 2:30 or 3, I'll give you a ring, and I want to read the thing, and then there's one other possible approach, and get your judgment on them. All right, I'm available. Very helpful. I see I said I was out with I talked to Bill Rogers too, so we're trying to sort of, as you know, the approach can vary or depends on how we handle it. That's the main thing. And I'll handle it in a way that differentiates between the whole situation, you know, as it must, depending upon what developments are. But I see but you would generally say, John, that you think the Garment approach is the best one. I think that at this point is good. See, the problem you've got as far as the Garment thing and so forth, I had a long talk with Peterson, and he's very reluctant to have anything said at this point, you see, because they haven't. Case. Huh? It hurts his case. What? It hurts his case. Yeah, well, Magruder, apart from their talks with your people, it's Magruder that they understand. They haven't got anything there, and he doesn't tell me not to say something, and I said, now look here, I'm not going to get out here. What would you do? You just get out and do it. You think, I just can't take the responsibility to have, I don't think Peterson would, but some guy down in the U.S. Attorney's Office said, well, the president blew the case in order to get publicity, you know? Well, I don't know that not blew the case, but impaired it, you know. Right. What would be your reaction to that? Let me get some more information for you on that potential. Would you do that? Yes, I will. That's the thing that I think is very important here, because, I could have said something Monday, and I talked to Peterson, and he said, I'd prefer not, you know. Mm-hmm. Remember we were talking about resignations and all that sort of thing, and he said, no. Remember I told you, and I said, all right, now look here, I just can't be in that, I can't be in a position of that. He said, well, the decision is yours, Mr. President. I said, well, let me tell you, what's the effect on it? I said, what's the situation? So, I don't know. We don't have any, well, look, think apparently is to have him go out and make a statement in open court. Confess in open court and make a statement, apparently. I didn't know they could do that with the guilty plea.
That's because Sirica's insisting on it. They're not right.
Yeah, that's what they said. Sirica was asking, Sirica would ask him the questions anyway, so they said, we'll just make him make a statement. I wonder about that procedure. It's a little tough, isn't it? And it's very risky as far as jeopardizing. I mean, I would think that Mitchell et al. Have a pretty tough have a good constitutional question there, wouldn't they?
I think they would indeed if they're named in open court like that.
Give me a little feeling on that. Don't let them know I'm checking on that, but give me your do a little rundown,
Digging on that for you.
on that, and I'll call you about 2:30 or 3.
All right, sir.
Okay.
Good.
Okay.
Thank you.
Hope you got a good night's sleep as well as you can these days.
Later that afternoon, the president spoke to reporters at the White House. He announced that members of the White House staff will appear before the Senate committee.
Last June 17, while I was in Florida trying to get a few days' rest after my visit to Moscow, I first learned from news reports of the Watergate break-in. I was appalled at this senseless, illegal action. And I was shocked to learn that employees of the Re-Election Committee were apparently among those guilty. I immediately ordered an investigation by appropriate government authorities. On September 15, as you will recall, indictments were brought against 7 defendants in the case. As the investigations went forward, I repeatedly asked those conducting the investigation whether there was any reason to believe that members of my administration were in any way involved. I received repeated assurances that there were not. Because of these continuing reassurances, because I believed the reports I was getting, because I had faith in the persons from whom I was getting them, I discounted the stories in the press that appeared to implicate members of my administration or other officials of the campaign committee. Until March of this year, I remained convinced that the denials were true and that the charges of involvement by members of the White House staff were false. The comments I made during this period, the comments made by my press secretary in my behalf, were based on the information provided to us at the time we made those comments. However, new information then came to me, which persuaded me that there was a real possibility that some of these charges were true, and suggesting further that there had been an effort to conceal the facts, both from the public, from you, and from me. As a result, on March 21st, I personally assumed the responsibility for coordinating intensive new inquiries into the matter. And I personally ordered those conducting the investigations to get all the facts and to report them directly to me right here in this office. I again ordered that all persons in the government or at the Re-Election Committee should cooperate fully with the FBI, the prosecutors, and the grand jury. I also ordered that anyone who refused to cooperate in telling the truth would be asked to resign from government service. And with ground rules adopted that would preserve the basic constitutional separation of powers between the Congress and the presidency, I directed that members of the White House staff should appear and testify voluntarily under oath before the Senate committee, which was investigating Watergate. I was determined that we should get to the bottom of the matter and that the truth should be fully brought out no matter who was involved. At the same time, I was determined not to take precipitate action and to avoid, if at all possible, any action that would appear to reflect on innocent people. I wanted to be fair, but I knew that in the final analysis, the integrity of this office, public faith in the integrity of this office would have to take priority over all personal considerations. Today, in one of the most difficult decisions of my presidency, I accepted the resignations of two of my closest associates in the White House, Bob Haldeman, John Ehrlichman, two of the finest public servants it has been my privilege to know. I want to stress that in accepting these resignations, I mean to leave no implication whatever of personal wrongdoing on their part. And I leave no implication tonight of implication on the part of others who have been charged in this matter. But in matters as sensitive as guarding the integrity of our democratic process, it is essential not only that rigorous legal and ethical standards be observed, but also that the public, you, have total confidence that they are both being observed and enforced by those in authority, and particularly by the President of the United States. They agreed with me that this move was necessary in order to restore that confidence. Because Attorney General Kleindienst, though a distinguished public servant, my personal friend for 20 years, with no personal involvement whatever in this matter, has been a close personal and professional associate of some of those who are involved in this case, he and I both felt that it was also necessary to name a new Attorney General. The counsel to the President, John Dean, has also resigned.
That night, he hosted a state dinner for Italian Prime Minister Giulio Andreotti. It featured a performance by Frank Sinatra. Afterwards, he called National Security Advisor Henry Kissinger.
Hello, Mr. President.
Did you stay for the entertainment?
Yes, this was moving. One of the most moving things I've heard.
You know, Frank's voice is gone, as he told me before he came, but by gosh, you know, the emotion in the room was just unbelievable. I think some of the people were crying.
Unbelievable.
Did you feel that way?
Oh, yes. And also the tremendous dignity with which he did it. The way he spoke of you and of the presidency was really a great evening. No, you said it very well. It isn't often that one can have such an evening.
Right.
No, Ebert was sitting in front of me, and he was in fact crying at the end.
Ebert?
Ebert, yeah. And Pastore was sitting next to me, and he's just beside himself.
Was he?
Yeah. Well,
Rather a hard day, wasn't it?
well, it was hard for you. And
Yeah.
when I didn't know you had made the statement you did until the evening. When I think of the discipline with which you conducted the meeting in the morning,
And then going through the evening.
and then going through the evening.
You know, the problem I have is that I can't look at it in the detached way I really should. Well, these people, goddammit, they're guilty. Throw them out and go on. But just the personal things are, goddamn. I think of these good men.
I try to. Who wanted to do the right thing, and
Well, it's going to splash on a lot of them. And anyway,
well, I think the way you have positioned it now is the right way to do it.
First Garment, as you know, was having the idea that I should get up and announce that I'd fired Haldeman, Ehrlichman, and Dean. And that, I mean, without waiting until they get up and name the real culprit is Mitchell, of course. He's in charge of the whole goddamn thing, and John Mitchell should step up like a man and say, look, I was in charge, I take the responsibility, period.
Exactly. All the more so as doing the opposite won't help him any.
Nope, they're going to get him.
No, I think to fire Haldeman would make him
the end, he would probably have to go, Henry. They're gonna, rip him up good.
Well, if that's the case, then he should get out before.
Well, but not until I have absolute evidence. I'm not going to fire a guy on the basis of a charge made by Dean, who basically is trying to save his ass and get immunity, you see. That's why I had that phrase in there that no immunity should be granted to a top person. Yeah, he has no right to do that.
No, that's absolutely. I mean, I think that is outrageous. No, I just have no way. I have no good feel for that. I think you would not have improved the situation if you had suddenly, without any preparation, turned on all your associates.
Yep.
And,
well, we have, I think, 2 or 3 hard months ahead. It's going to be real rough.
well, the major thing now, Mr. President, if I may say so, is to protect the presidency and your authority.
It'll be hard because
that is the absolutely essential.
some of these people will even piss on the president if they think it'll help.
Well,
It's pretty hard. I'm the only one, frankly, of the whole bunch who really didn't know a goddamn thing, about it until March, when I finally Dean came in and said, well, here's where it is, which he should have done months ago.
well, they really know but they had, and they try to, instead of stepping back and assessing where they were, got in deeper and deeper.
That's right.
But I think the absolute, to protect the place.
Well, if we can, we will, and if we don't, what the hell?
We can, Mr. President.
Maybe we'll, I even considered the possibility of, frankly, just throwing myself on the sword and letting Agnew take it. What the hell?
That is out of the question, with all due respect, Mr. President. That cannot be considered. Well, the personality, what it would do to the presidency and to the historical injustice of it. Why should you do it? And what good would it do? Whom would it help? It wouldn't help the country. It wouldn't help any individual involved. But with all respect, I don't think a president has a right to sacrifice himself for an individual. And it would, of course, be personally unjust.
I've had dinners the night after Cambodia. I had one on after the May thing. We had a dinner, and they were tough. But boy, I'm telling you, tonight that was a hard one for me to get through. I don't think
Carried it off.
I don't think the audience sensed it, but
No one sensed it. No one. In fact, I didn't know you had made a statement, so one of my dinner partners said, isn't it astonishing how the president is behaving, considering what he's done today? I said, yes, he's had a tough meeting in the morning, but he does that all the time. She said, no, the statement was Mrs. Guest. So it was an astonishing performance. But I think, Mr. President, it can be...
well, to the extent you can, and you're talking to people, you may have to mention really very strongly these personal things if it'll help. I don't know. May not help.
No, it will help, Mr. President. And if any stuff gets out, then there has to be ruthless surgery, or as the stuff gets out.
Yep. There will. Hell. The axe will fall.
And it's impermissible to touch the president. That cannot be permitted. At whatever price. And I'm sure that even Bob wouldn't want that.
Oh, no, Bob is willing to. Bob and John both are willing to throw themselves in the sword, although when they do, they're going to fight like hell.
But one of them ought to stay.
I would hope so. But I'm afraid it can't be Haldeman, and I'm afraid the only one that possibly could be saved would be Ehrlichman and that stuff, too. that's the Garment line. What do you think of his line?
Well, Garment wants you to fire Haldeman, Dean,
And Ehrlichman.
I don't know what they want you to fire Ehrlichman too.
Yep.
Well, it's a possibility. I don't know what the evidence is, but
The evidence is, at this time, charges made that have not been corroborated yet. But they're,
well, if there's a good chance that they'll have to go as a result of what happened, then I don't think you should fire them. They ought to resign on the ground that their usefulness is impaired, that they have to be above like Caesar's wife.
we'll think about it. Do our best.
But I think it does you credit to have understood as you have. And in any event, today you were right to go no further.
Well, we'll do the Italian again tomorrow.
Right, Mr. President. And
I'd like for you in the morning to, if you will, rather than me, reading the stuff from the Soviet, I'm going to have you read it.
I'll read it, Mr. President.
I don't really want to go, you can say now, we've been in communication and here's what's happened and God damn it, we've got, and if these people start to whine around, I'm going to be very tough. I'm going to say, fine. I said, now here's what you're going to do. There will be no Soviet summit. There will be no arms control. There will be no, this great initiative will be destroyed. And if the Jewish community wants to take that responsibility, I am going to take them on. Believe me, this is one time I'll do it, Henry.
I think you should. But they won't come in till Thursday, Mr. President. Tomorrow is the Senate people. Tomorrow is still a Jewish holiday, so they won't come until Thursday, the Jewish group.
Be very strong and say, look, it's like getting out Downey. It's like all these other things. By God, we can do it working within. If they don't want to work within, the door will slam bang down, and Henry, nobody's going to get out, believe me.
No question. No question.
And they've got to understand that.
Not a question.
And not only that, will they not get out? But this will be the key point. The Russians are tough. They've gone further than they would ever want to go. They're backing down. And if I were they, I wouldn't come to the goddamn summit. Well, don't you get discouraged. You,
Mr. President, I'm not discouraged.
do your job. You, two or three of us have got to stick around, try to hold the goddamn fort.
You have saved this country, Mr. President. The history books will show that when no one will know what Watergate means. And
Maybe, although our enemies, will say, well, this proves that we were obstructed justice. Oh well.
Oh, and in 6 months no one will know it anymore. It's a human tragedy for Haldeman and Dean and a few of those fellows. Haldeman is a big man, Mr. President, and
Dean is the real fellow that's really going to be the loose cannon because he's trying to save his ass, trying to get immunity. That's why I had in that little phrase that no immunity should be granted to any top person. And that's going to burn his ass because then he'll thrash out about everything you can imagine. Yeah. Although Ziegler made an interesting point, he has goddamn little credibility. After all, he was making the report. That's right. He was the one that said there was no involvement, and that's what we relied on. That's right. It took him till February or March of this year before he finally came in and said, well, here it is. That's right. It's a little damn late, isn't it?
I just fire him as soon as it comes out. And let him scream from the outside. running the government. You're doing all the negotiating. You're carrying a bigger load than any president has. On top of it, they want you to...
God, we were going to Russia and China and ending the war and negotiating. I wasn't even thinking about the goddamn campaign, you know. I had nothing to do with the damn campaign, as you know.
Of course.
That's the tragedy. I wish to Christ maybe that I had, but if I'd been spending time in the campaign, maybe we wouldn't pull off the Vietnam.
And if you can't rely on your own people to tell you the facts, then it's rather difficult. And if you had done that, we might still be in the war.
I made a note to you that this Dennis told he's at the hospital, it said that he approved the bombing of Cambodia and Laos. But he didn't, when he could not approve the renewing the bombing of North Vietnam. And I want you, if you will, to take a quick trip out to the hospital and say, Senator, you know, brief him and say, we've got to hit in South Vietnam, just say that for a brief period, we've got to hit it in order to avoid a complete debacle.
I'm seeing him Friday morning at 10, Mr. President. We've got it scheduled already.
You going out there?
Yeah. And I'll talk to him then. That's only 3 days from now, and I don't think he'll speak before then.
No.
But I'll call him tomorrow.
Call him and tell him, Senator, don't make up your mind on bombing or anything else until I talk to you and you tell him what the hell the facts are.
Right. Right.
And in the meantime, put your arm around Haldeman and Ehrlichman.
You can count on it, Mr. President. I've been standing by Haldeman. I didn't know Ehrlichman was in trouble, too.
Yeah.
No, you can count on the fact that I'll stand by them. But the major person to stand by now is you.
Well, sleep on it. We'll all try to get some ideas. I don't think Garment's judgment is very good. I don't, I mean, he panics so easily. He panicked on Cambodia and everything else earlier. And
that's right. That's been my
I
experience.
just feel that
Mr. President,
may have to...
So far, you haven't got the evidence. If you get some evidence that makes it look that the fellows can't be held...
If it's hard evidence, though, God damn it, I'm not...
get hard evidence...
It's got to be corroborated. I ain't going to let them do it on a basis of...
Then you ought to fire the people against whom you have evidence, and the others ought to consider resigning.
Yep. Well, it'll be a great day on the other side for all of our enemies, won't it? Times opposed to the rest. Shit.
That's right, Mr. President. And we'll put together the wagons and pull it through, as you've done so often.
Well, what's really disturbing is that comparing this goddamn thing with Teapot Dome, for Christ's sakes, which was thievery on a massive basis, that isn't what this is all about.
That's right, Mr. President, and in a year that will be clear.
It'll take that long, I'm afraid.
No, maybe less. I think if the major thing now is to get the pus out of the system. Not let it be squeezed out a little at a time.
That's right.
And I think
One grand jury will get a hell of that done.
once you have all the facts, I think you should consider then at least cleaning at least that part of the house that must be cleaned.
Right.
However painful.
Right. Okay, mate.
Right, Mr. President.
President Nixon and his National Security Advisor, Henry Kissinger, from April 17, 1973. Coming up on the next episode of Presidential Recordings, President Nixon's first term, and conversations about the Vietnam War, the Pentagon Papers, and his legislative agenda. Follow Presidential Recordings wherever you listen to podcasts so you never miss an episode.